Moving along, let's look at this. Which of these sentences are capitalized correctly? A, I am currently taking a Spanish class. I also speak fluent German. B, the patient is a 36-year-old Hmong woman. C, the hospital chapel holds Lutheran services every day at 10 a.m. D, all are correct. Look at those sentences, make your decision, go to the next slide. All of these are correct. Let's take a little more of a closer look at those last few rules that we just did on that last slide. We capitalize languages, such as I speak English, German, and Spanish, plus assorted words and phrases in Dutch, Swedish, French, Russian, and Italian. Languages capitalized. The study of business English is essential for the medical transcriptionist. English is also capitalized there, so just be aware that we capitalize languages. We also capitalize races. The 83-year-old Asian male is alert, or Indian, or Caucasian, African American, Hispanic, Eskimo. You get the idea. Our races are capitalized. Same thing with religions. The terminally ill patient requested a memorial service following her death to be presided over by a Catholic, Islamic, and Judaic clergyman. Religions, capitalized religions. However, we do not capitalize skin color if it is dictated, such as the black female is 13 years old. Black is not capitalized. The 13-year-old white male patient complains of low back pain. White, not capitalized. Our AHDI Book of Style does talk a little bit more about this on pages 161 and 162. Take a look at those and read it for your information there. Our next question follows here. What are these types of terms called? Haemophilus influenza, Salmonella typhi, Escherichia coli, Streptococcus pneumoniae. What types of terms are those? Are they A, homonyms, antonyms, B, trade, generic, C, genus, species, or D, just weird, important sounding words? Think about what you think those are and go to the next slide. Well, they really are weird, important sounding words that really can be troublesome for some transcriptionists. So I suppose one could argue that D is really the right answer, but they are actually genus and species, letter C. Let's talk a little bit more about what a genus and species types of terms are. Genus and species is part of the classification of all living things, and all living things can be classified down from the kingdom all the way down to the species, and it's kind of a hierarchy of nature, or of all of our classification of living things. So if we take a lemur monkey, for instance, a ringtail lemur monkey, and walk it through the kingdom that it belongs to is the animal kingdom. It belongs to the chordate, or a vertebrate phylum, meaning all living things that have a vertebrae. It is a mammal class. It's a primate order. It's from the Lemuridae family. The genus of the ringtail lemur monkey is the lemur, and then the species is the ringtail. So it kind of goes from the biggest category all the way down to the smallest part as far as what living things are and the classification. And the species is the primary unit of biological classification. And the members within the species share a basic genetic similarity and can interbreed and produce viable or fertile offspring. So I've probably given you more information than you'd like to know about genus and species. As far as our capitalization and transcribing of these terms, we just need to know that we need to capitalize the singular genus when it's used alone, such as the patient was treated for Giardia, capitalize Giardia. An outbreak of Salmonella, capitalize Salmonella. Other examples are given there also. Capitalize singular genus used with species, but do not capitalize the species. So undercooked hamburger may contain Escherichia coli. Escherichia is our genus. The species is coli. Genus Escherichia is capitalized. Coli is not. Many times the genus is designated by its first initial only, and if that's the case, we capitalize the initial, add a space, and then the species name not capitalized, such as E. coli, and this is in the newspaper all the time for Escherichia coli. But many times it is just abbreviated to E. coli. We would capitalize the E, space, coli. M. tuberculosis for Mycobacterium tuberculosis, capital M, space, tuberculosis. H. influenza for Haemophilus influenza, capital H, space, influenza. Sometimes our genus names are dictated as a plural form or an adjective form. If it changes any type of form from the main genus name, we do not capitalize it. Such as Streptococcus is capitalized, but if it is dictated Streptococci, meaning more than one, it's plural, not capitalized. Streptococcal, in this case, would be an adjective, not capitalized. On page 444 of your textbook, again in the Appendix B area in the back, is a great reference on genus and species names that are commonly used. And this, again, great reference. You might think about putting it into your information station. And just for an example, it's nice. It gives you the common term that you might know some of these by, such as Clostridium tetani for tetanus. Again, very useful because the words do sound very different. Might be hard to find if you're looking them up. It's probably a genus and species name if it's given like this. So take a look at it. It shows you how to capitalize correctly and how the genus name is not capitalized. That genus and species information is pretty heavy, so let's move on. Let's take a look at our next question here. Which drug name is capitalized correctly? The patient is to take Advil, PRN, for headache. B, the patient is to take ibuprofen, PRN, for headache. C, the patient is to take aspirin, PRN, for headache. Or D, the patient is to take acetaminophen, PRN, for headache. Which one of those drugs is capitalized correctly? A is the correct answer here. Advil is a trademark name. We capitalize trademarked and branded name drugs. We capitalize trade and brand name drugs, and these are branded name drugs, are trademark names, are names of drugs over which a pharmaceutical house has exclusive rights. They've paid a lot of money to have their names trademarked, and we have to capitalize them. Generic drugs are the names of drugs which any pharmaceutical company can manufacture, and these generic name drugs are not capitalized. So, for example, Advil is a brand trademark name, needs to be capitalized. Ibuprofen is a generic of that. It's just generic, though we do not need to capitalize ibuprofen. And you might be wondering, well, how do I know? Is it a trademark name? Is it a brand name? Do I have to capitalize it? You will always just have to look these up until you're familiar with the drugs that you're transcribing. And you'll probably never know all of the drugs that you're transcribing, whether they need to be capitalized or not. So you'll need to get good at looking them up. And also be aware that some of our brand name drugs have some really unusual spellings and capitalization within the drug name, such as Physihack. Notice that capital H in there in the middle of that. Hydrodiurol. Same thing, we've got a capital D in the middle. Cercepsis, look at how that one is spelled. So just to be aware that we need to look them up until we're sure of how to spell them and capitalize. And again, our generic drugs do not need to be capitalized. Many of these do take the form of the chemical name, such as hydrocortisone, potassium iodide, nitroglycerin. Generic drugs do not need to be capitalized. There are several different references that you can use to look up your drug terms. If you're in the medical transcription classes, you've got your Quick Look Drug Book, which is a great drug reference there. The physician's desk reference is a very big book. If you've ever seen it in your doctor's office, or if you have a family member that might be a nurse or a doctor, they might have this in their home. And it's a very good reference. The one drawback to the physician's desk reference, or the PDR, is that companies have to pay to get their names in it. So it's not an exclusive list of all the drugs. And then there are obviously others out there. Be aware, though, if you're looking up drugs online, on the internet, that you really need to make sure that what you're looking at for a source is a good, reputable source, and that if they capitalize it, it really should be, and that it's not just somebody's research paper that they've done, because they may not know all the rules. So make sure that whatever reference you use is a good, reputable source. Prescription drugs require that a physician writes the orders or places the orders themselves. Over-the-counter or OTC drugs can be purchased without a prescription. And be aware, too, that drugs can go back and forth between being a prescription drug or over-the-counter drug. Be aware also that Suture Materials might be either a branded name, such as Surgicel, or a generic name, such as catgut. And so if you're doing a procedure note or an operative note, you might need to look up these materials to see if it should be capitalized or not. So be aware of that as far as capitalization goes. And just for your own information, catgut is a type of cord that is prepared from the natural fiber in the walls of animal intestines. Usually sheep or goat intestines are used. But it is occasionally made from the intestines of other animals. So although one could conceivably prepare catgut from cat intestines, the name does not imply that it has any association with cats. So just for a little information there, if you're wondering about that. And here's our next question. Which sentence or sentences are correctly capitalized? A, the patient arrived in the emergency room at 2:30 a.m. B, all beds at Meriter Hospital's birthing center were occupied. C, the UW Hospital's eye clinic won an award. D, I took my daughter to the urgent care clinic. Which one is correct? When you're ready, click to the next slide. Letter C is correct. The UW Hospital's eye clinic won an award. Let's look at another one. Which one of these following sentences is correct? A, Dean Clinic's urgent care is efficient. B, the patient had her ultrasound in the radiology department. C, the accident victims were taken to St. Mary's emergency room. Or D, both A and C are correct. D, both A and C are correct. And let's look at this a little bit further in the next slide. We're going to capitalize specific departments. UW Hospital and Clinic's eye clinic. We know exactly which eye clinic it is. It's UW Hospital and Clinic's eye clinic is capitalized, as well as UW Hospital and Clinic's. Meriter Hospital's birthing center. We know which birthing center we're talking about. Capitalized. St. Mary's Emergency and Trauma Department. Same thing here. We know it's St. Mary's Emergency and Trauma, going to be capitalized. Here are a few more examples. Avoid using an emergency room if an urgent care facility is adequate. Nothing here tells us which urgent care we're talking about or which emergency room, so it is not specific, it's not capitalized. All geriatric departments should ban visitors after 8 p.m. Here again, we don't know which geriatric departments. Is it a specific hospital or what? In this case, geriatric departments not capitalized. Most hospitals have an acute care center. Not specific. We don't know what acute care center they're talking about. I prefer the Dean Immediate Care Center. Here we know it's Dean's Immediate Care Center. It's specific, capitalized. Our book of style on page 155 to 157 goes into this a little bit further if you want to take a look and read there. It might help to clarify some of this. And here's our next rule. Nouns followed by numbers or letter identifying the noun is usually capitalized. So see Table 5, table capitalized. See Figure 3, figure capitalized. Refer to Chart A, capitalized chart. Look in Appendix B, appendix capitalized. Versus the book contains 5 appendices. There it's not followed by a number or a letter, not capitalized. There are a number of frequently used nouns that are not capitalized when followed by a number, so it's kind of difficult. See page 3, paragraph 4, line 8, none of those are capitalized. And there is a list on page 98 of our textbook that gives us some information about this too. So kind of a tricky one here with nouns followed by numbers or letter. We capitalize the first word in each line of an outline, such as diagnoses. Number 1, incontinence, period. Number 2, cystitis, period. Notice that even though there's only one word in each of these sentences, with this outline here, we capitalize each one and we end each line with a period. It's called a clip sentence. Always, always end them with periods too. Specifically talking about medical reports and medical transcribed reports, there is often a type of hierarchy as far as capitalization goes with the report headings. Your employer will let you know what kind of format they like when you get on the job, and you're obviously going to learn more about this in your transcription courses. But you might want to look ahead and look at your AHDI, your book of style, such as on page 493. There's a very nice sample of a history and physical there that might help to answer some of your questions about formatting, because a lot of times I know students get worried about how things should be formatted and what it should look like, and there's some great examples on this page as well as following pages in that book of style that can give you really good sample formats for your reports. So if you're in transcription class, take a look at those reports. Start doing your reports that way. That's how we do teach them. So take a look there. Look at the capitalization of those report headings as well as the format. Here's our proofreading to save your butt this week. Transcribed, physical examination, rectal deferred. What's wrong with that? What do you think's wrong with that? Does that make sense? Let's look at the and it should have physical examination, rectal deferred, as in the exam will take place another time. So even though it was dictated deferred, make sure you're typing the right deferred. It needs to make sense. Might seem kind of funny, but these things do come up. These are real examples that I do include on the slides that I've gotten from bloopers from different transcriptionists and in different magazines. So look at them and understand that it's so easy that you know, you could transcribe the wrong word, or a speech recognition file could be wrong. So just to realize, proofreading can really help you out. We're going to capitalize titles of publications. The following references are required for your medical transcription classes: Dorland's Pocket Medical Dictionary, the Medical Word Book, AHDI Book of Style, and an English Dictionary. So you can see that the names of these different references are capitalized. Also note that instead of underlining them, you can also italicize them. Here's our next question. Which one is correct? A, I love spring flowers. B, at MATC, fall classes begin in August. C, summer is almost over after Labor Day. D, all of the above are correct. So as far as capitalization goes, which is correct? I hope you guessed B, because B is correct. We capitalize days, months, and holidays, such as for the fall semester, classes begin on Tuesday, September 2nd, after the Labor Day holiday. For the spring semester, classes resume after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which falls about 2 weeks after New Year's. So all of our holidays, we're going to capitalize. Days, capitalize. Months, capitalize. Let's look at a few other rules. How about this one? Which one is not correct? I want to travel south of the border this winter. B, the Great Lakes are beautiful. C, Wisconsin winters are too cold. D, I have never traveled out east. Which one is not correct? C is not correct. We do not capitalize our seasons of the year. We capitalize specific areas of the country or geographic locations, but we do not capitalize just directions. So when finished with school, I want to work in either the west or northwest. Capitalized because it's a specific area of the country. I definitely do not want to work east, not capitalized, it's just a direction, of the Mississippi River. It's a geographic location, capitalized. Or the Great Lakes, another geographic location, capitalized. It's too cold in the winter. Seasons of the year are not capitalized. Here's another example. In New England, again, it's a specific region of the country, it's capitalized. Residents commemorate the American Revolution. It's a historic event, it's capitalized, with a holiday called Patriots' Day. Holidays are capitalized. We also capitalize most English abbreviations when they represent capitalized words such as UW for University of Wisconsin, MATC for Madison Area Technical College. You get the idea. If they represent a capitalized word, the abbreviation is capitalized. Most of our English abbreviations are capitalized. Again, you're always going to double check in your dictionary. Acronyms, UNICEF for the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. We talked about acronyms earlier. They are capitalized. However, we do not capitalize metric or English measurements or Latin abbreviations, such as TID. For 3 times a day, it's a Latin abbreviation. Lowercase t, period, lowercase I, period, lowercase d, period. PO, by mouth. Again, it's a Latin abbreviation, and you will learn that in your medical language classes if you haven't had medical language yet. P period, O period, lowercase, foot, centimeters. Those abbreviations are not capitalized. We capitalize organizations, businesses, and government agencies. Medical Society of Wisconsin, capitalized, versus do all states have a medical society? Here it's not a specific organization, it's not capitalized in that sentence. The Dean Clinic, capitalized, it's specific, it's an organization, it's a business. I have to go to the clinic later. There we don't know which clinic. Clinic is not capitalized. Center for Disease Control, it's a specific agency, capitalized. Every hospital should have a disease control unit. There it's not specific. We don't know exactly which one, not capitalized in that situation. So know the difference between when you need to capitalize them and when you don't, when they're specific organizations, businesses, or government agencies. We capitalize specific course names. These are your enrollment instructions for this semester. You must register for Medical Transcription Techniques and Procedures, Medical Transcription 1, and Word Processing, such as Word or Word Perfect. As an elective, you may wish to take a Medical Terminology course. Take Medical Language 2 if you have already completed a beginning medical language course. So see the difference there in that paragraph? The specific courses are capitalized rather than generic, like Word Processing. It's generic for Word or Word Perfect. Word and Word Perfect are specific, they're capitalized. Because drug allergies can be a very important piece of information that needs to stand out in medical records, we capitalize each letter in the name of a drug when reporting our allergies on a chart note or patient history, such as allergies, penicillin. Notice how penicillin is in all caps. Allergies, codeine. Some people even underline, such as codeine here. Might even give extra emphasis. The patient has allergies to sulfa and penicillin. Capitalize sulfa, penicillin. Cardiology symbols and abbreviations have some very specific capitalization rules. In our Book of Style, pages 323 to 326, you can see some examples of some of these electrocardiographic results and some of the terminology that goes along with this type of a report. So take a look at those because there's some very specific capitalization rules there. So what's going on around you? Is there anything new in the news, on TV, on the radio? Have you heard of any new procedures or drugs or new medical breakthroughs? Be aware that medicine is constantly changing, and you need to keep appraised of all the new information going on around you. Thank you for viewing this lecture, and have a great week, everyone.